Hey there, I'm Kevin Bullard, and welcome to this month's edition of Leader Talk. I'm really happy this month to be joined by Joe Olivares from Fleet Department. Hey, Joe.
Hello, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, you say thanks for having you. Do you mean that, or is that just kind of like a dig? And here's why I say this, right? So I've known Joe for probably a little over a year. I actually met Joe when I was working for a consulting company before I came to the city and got to know Joe and did some work with her. And when I started with the city and started doing leader talk specifically, seemed out who I wanted to be on the show. And I thought about Joe. And Joe, you were like really excited to be on here at first, weren't you?
No, I was not.
Absolutely not. But yet here you are. And why is that?
Because you were very persistent.
Oh, okay.
No. No, I think I just thought about it from a different perspective after speaking with my husband. And at first I was like, no. And then I was kind of like, okay, sure, why not?
Well, good. And I never told you this, but from the very beginning, when I thought about you being on the show, it's because I thought you might be reluctant to be on.
Of
And that
course.
was actually the reason I asked you, because I knew that I know you, and I know that you're good at what you do and that you have something to share. And so I figured sometimes those who are reluctant have a lot of good things to share, and I figured you were one of them. So here
Thank
we
you.
are.
I hope so.
All right. Well, Joe, you are the administrative supervisor for fleet services. So tell us how long you've been here at the city and tell us what your role means. What does it look like day to day?
Okay. So I've worked with Fleet Services. It'll actually be 6 years next month in March.
Okay.
My title actually recently just changed to Business Operations Manager.
The bomb. You're the bomb.
Yeah, that's what my boss says.
Right.
No, but basically my role is just maintaining the workflow and handling challenges as they arise.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I do in a nutshell. Um, a day to day for me, I start off with reviewing the previous day's work orders and closing them out. I also am responsible for maintaining the fuel in all the city fuel tanks, so I'm constantly monitoring that and ordering fuel as needed. I also assist the front desk and just making sure that everything's running smoothly.
Okay. Um, as I learned from our most recent weather incident, I just learned about the importance of fleet really supporting the rest of the city during an incident. So you mentioned fuel, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give me some type of context for like how much fuel gets ordered or what you're watching, just how much fuel we go through. Give me some
Sure.
context.
So we have two main fueling sites, one at Gasoline Alley and the others on Forest Lane.
Okay.
Those are our big 20,000 gallon tanks. We also have a 6,000 gallon tank at the landfill. And then we have several thousand gallon tanks at all of the fire stations.
Okay.
So I've got to make sure that nobody runs out of gas
Got it.
or diesel. So I'm constantly we have electronic monitoring on the big tanks, so
Mm-hmm.
I can just dial in and see exactly what quantity we have on hand, and that's how I figure out what needs to be ordered and what doesn't. And then for the smaller tanks, we have a gentleman, his name's Larry, who's awesome, by the way, and he goes every Monday to all of the fire stations and some
Okay.
of the substations for GP&L and does a manual reading of the fuel levels. So that's how I use that information to determine what needs to be ordered.
Got it.
But we order fuel pretty almost every day, but depending on the need.
All right. So, well, fleet services, and I'm sure I'm going to leave some part out, but obviously there's the fuel, there's the delivery of diesel to the generators during a storm,
Mm-hmm.
there is the repair of vehicles, um, and so much more. Tell me about the leadership that's required to keep all this going,
I
supporting the
think
city.
leadership is vital to an essential department like ours. a lot of the work that we do often can go what seems like unnoticed. So recognition is important, especially from the higher ups. We, even if it's just a simple acknowledgement, it can really have a huge impact on morale. It's about feeling valued for your behind the scenes efforts.
Yeah. So give me a story, if you have one. Share an example of that and how it helps keep the morale
Yeah.
going on the team.
So, for us being essential, we've got to be there. Our team has to be there to support, the emergency crews, police, fire, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But most recently, when we had an ice event, Phil, our managing director, he actually came by in the morning and brought some Chick-fil-A, I think it was. So the guys really appreciate that, and it kind of really shows them that, hey, I see you, and it's something small, but it really is something that can mean a lot to the team, just to be like, hey, I know y'all are here and y'all are working. Here's a little something just to make the day a little bit easier for y'all. So it was definitely appreciated.
Got it. Okay. And how many people work in Fleet?
Well, we have 38 employees total.
Okay.
That's a combination of mechanics and office staff as well.
Got it. Okay. So let me ask you this. So you're a green belt.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't know what that is, green belt is one of the designations associated with project management, and you did that through Dylan Morgan, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. How, since you became a green belt, and at least in my estimation, like just stepped up who you're being in the department, what difference have you seen that make for you and for the department as a whole, and for Garth, who you help support?
I think it kind of helped me look at it from a different perspective. Some of the things that we learned in the program about how to lay things out and how to decipher data and things, it kind of helped. For me, it helped me kind of look at it from a different point of view. Sometimes I think like when you're in the thick of it, you're kind of miss some things. So when you sit down and you like map it out and you see it on paper, it kind of like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then it makes things easier to pinpoint.
Got it. Okay. So let me narrow in even more about leadership. Now, there are some people who I think just based on like the way they're wired, there maybe just be like these, like they come out like highly charismatic, and you can tell like from a little toddler, like it's like, yeah, they're going to be a leader. Then there are other folks who I think is kind of grow into leadership, and I think I'm that type. I mean, how do you see yourself? Like natural born leader, or one who's grown into leadership?
I would say my leadership journey's been pretty organic, and it happened pretty naturally for me.
Mm-hmm.
I was managing a dealership service department at 22 years old, so I've been managing people for a long time, not to date myself. But
Too late.
over the years, I've kind of stepped down a couple of times, thinking I would rather just focus on being an individual contributor.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow I've always ended up in some type of leadership capacity, even when I don't intend to. It just kind of finds me.
Yeah. Now, I've spent some time working at a dealership, and I know that, like on the service side of things, it's like you've got to be pretty steely.
Yeah.
To manage on that side. And now that I think about it, they're at the dealership, but even here, you're leading in a field or in an industry that's typically more male dominated.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that, like how you see yourself leading that, and how you still bring yourself to the job.
Yeah. So fleet and cars is what I know. Coming out of the retail into the city, it was a big change for me, but it was also kind of similar because it was the same similar environments, same type of situations, only instead of having, paying customers that you're talking to city employees are our customers now. So that took me a little bit to do, but it's definitely not for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that. Um, Thinking about it now, I feel like I was before my time, if you will. Now there's, women in leadership all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, the car business. We've got women general managers now. We've got women store managers and things where whenever I was in the business,
Yeah.
that was not very common. So um, I love to see that, and I'm happy to see that that's evolving.
I'm glad you said that because as soon as you said we do have women in his position, I thought about Suzanne at Randall Reed,
Mm-hmm.
who's who's awesome and a really
Yeah.
strong leader.
Yeah, I know her.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
great, awesome. All right, now what do you find to be most challenging?
I would say it can be challenging leading a group of a bunch of diverse personalities.
Hmm.
You have to really tailor your approach to the person, which requires you to invest time to getting to know your employees.
Yeah.
What works for one person may not work for the other, so you have to have that awareness and flexibility.
Do you have any stories of like when you maybe tried to do the one size fits all approach and
Yeah.
what you learned from it?
Well, it's kind of funny because having been in the car business for almost 20 years and working with mostly all men, especially mechanics, they are a different breed. And then now having women that are reporting to me, um, it was challenging because I can't talk to certain people the way I would talk to someone else. So I had to really like check myself and go, okay, let's think about who you're talking to here before you speak, and really tailored my approach to the person. That's what really it showed me.
Yeah. I think that's really good, and I want to acknowledge you for that because I think it can be very easy for a leader to think, well, I'm the boss, I'm in charge, and I'll talk to you the way I want to talk to you, and if you're going to be here, you just need to shape up, get used to it, or ship out.
Yeah.
Which is like a very, I think, outdated way of leading,
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm sure there are still some places in leadership like here or anywhere where it's that attitude is still there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what you said is so important is just realizing that there's the diversity of folks and
Times are changing.
yeah, and
Yeah.
you talk to people
How you want to be talked to.
yeah, and in a way that where you can actually connect with them.
Correct.
Where because I think at the end of the day, what we're looking for is not just I tell you what to do, but we're looking for some type of we're not even looking for compliance. Ultimately, we're looking for cooperation where people have some motivation to want to do it and not just because they have to do it. Because I
Yeah.
don't think those people hang around very long because they go to where somebody's actually connecting with them based on who they are.
Yeah.
So
For sure.
all right. Now, tell me about a time when you doubted your leadership abilities and what did you learn?
Well, I had a supervisor berate me, and it was pretty harsh. The car business is very cutthroat, and it really made me question everything. It made me question my own abilities. It also made me question leadership in general was for me. But what helped me get past that is really just taking the time to reflect and separate personal attacks from useful feedback.
You got to say more about that. It's like you just kind of threw it out there. It's like
Well, I don't want to get into details, but let's just say
yeah.
I felt often personally attacked being a female in a male-dominant industry.
Sure.
So a lot of having to prove your worth and having to prove that you belong here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely challenging.
So for anyone who's watching this, like what would you offer to folks so that they can begin to distinguish like the personal attack, but also maybe something's being said that's helpful, but the way it's been presented is bad. I mean,
Yeah.
well, what can you offer so that folks can hear what's being said in the midst of like this personal attack?
Yeah. I think in the midst of it, for me, I automatically felt attacked.
Yeah.
So then instinctively I became defensive. So I had to like take a step back and really think about what was being said and figure out if there was any truth to what was being said, or if it was just out of jealousy or anger or whatever the case may be. But it was really just kind of dissecting the conversation and how it went, and being able to decipher what was really useful out of that conversation.
Yeah. So one of the things I really hear happening in the background with you is just some self-awareness, where you don't like what was said, you don't like how it was said, you may not even like who said it, but you are self-aware enough to look at yourself and say, is any of this useful?
Yeah.
Does that sound like what you did?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, is there any truth, even if it's just a small ounce of truth, to what was said, and really kind of dissecting that.
Yeah.
And seeing how I could use that to better myself in the future.
I love that. That's like, to me, that's like the epitome of leadership, because I mean, things get said to all of us from time to time that it's offensive,
Yeah.
and then we can get defensive. But I love what you're talking about and what you model, that you're looking to see if there's something in there that you can actually grow from.
Yeah.
So that's really good, Joe.
Thank you.
See why I asked you to be on here?
It was definitely not fun in the process.
What, this isn't fun?
No, yeah, this is great.
Oh, you're talking about
That
I'm just messing
situation.
with you. I'm messing with you. All right. So tell me, who's influenced your leadership style the most, and how?
I would say Mr. Crouch influenced me the most. He was probably the best boss I ever had over the course of my career.
Mm-hmm.
He really showed me that you don't have to be this autocratic type to lead people. And he showed me a more approachable style to leadership. And that's what I try to be like.
Got it. Did you? So I'm curious. So Mr. Crouch, how did you see him handle difficult situations with people?
Well, he was very calm, for one. He was a great listener. So if we had upset customers or whatever, where I've seen in the past other supervisors, got into somewhat of a screaming match or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
He was very calm, and he allowed the person to speak, and not just the customers, but also employees when things got to that point. He was just, I don't know how to describe it. He was just like the best boss I've ever had. It was like, you see, you don't have to be this other way to get people to listen to you. But yeah, he's since retired, but I was thankful to have the privilege to work for him, for sure.
Gotcha. Does he know how you feel about him?
Probably not. I haven't spoke to him since I left the dealership.
Do you know how to get in touch with him?
Yeah, I probably have his number.
That would make his day if he knew that.
Yeah, I might reach out to him.
Oh, yeah, or when this airs, like, you send him a link and it's
Yeah.
like, we're talking about you, Mr. Crouch.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but
No,
I
you're
just
good.
the thing is, I mean, that would thrill him to know that he had that type of influence on you. All right.
All right.
So here's my favorite question: what's the biggest leadership mistake you've made, and
Oh gosh.
how did you grow from it?
Well, I've probably made plenty. I'm certainly not perfect, but I would say being so overly focused on getting things done, I didn't always take the time to actively listen.
Okay.
And it showed me that there's more to leadership than just giving direction. It's really about creating a space where people feel heard and valued.
Got it. You have an example you can tell or are willing to tell,
Um,
or a story?
yeah. I think sometimes as a leader, we get so focused on doing things the way that we want them
Mm-hmm.
done. And it took someone pointing out to me another option and me taking the time to slow down and really listen to the other person and think, wow, that's a great idea. And so, kind of thinking, like you said earlier, some people think it's like my way or the highway. And it really just, that kind of situation really just makes you stop and think and really value and appreciate input from others, regardless if they're in a leadership
Yeah.
role or not.
I love that, whether they're in their leadership role or not. I mean, I just, once again, just self awareness and being open to really anyone
Yeah, absolutely.
for your own growth. Um, how do you? We talked about this in your role. I mean, there's a lot that you've got to get done, and particularly as a business operations manager, the bomb. How do you distinguish when you are overly focused on getting things done versus maybe listening more or being more attentive to what people need?
I would say it kind of brings it to my attention if there's a pattern or if we're not succeeding at a certain thing more
Mm-hmm.
than once, then
Got it.
it catches my attention to stop and go, okay, what are we doing here? What can we do? And I'm always soliciting feedback from my team and saying, hey, let's talk about this. This is what's happening. What can we do? And we sit there and have a powwow and figure out what works best and listen to everyone's ideas.
Got it. All right. Excellent. Um, I'm gonna assume. Well, let me not do any assuming. Your team.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like your team finds you pretty approachable? That they can, like, if you calls like, hey, let's sit down and let's talk about this. That they feel like that they can speak up.
I I believe so. Yeah, I hope so. I certainly haven't experienced anything other than the willingness and openness.
Yeah. And what do you think has helped create that willingness on their part to open up and share?
Um, I don't know. I think me personally, I always try to lead with empathy,
Yeah.
and so I always put myself in my team's shoes and would never ask them to do something that I wouldn't be willing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's done a lot to build trust and respect.
Got it. Okay. All right. So let's start to wrap this up. What is a piece of advice that you would pass on to someone who maybe like they're stepping into leadership newly here in the city? What would you pass on to them?
I would say for them to lead with empathy. I would say to find your own path. Um, I think what I've noticed, especially with the city, is it's like, well, this is how we've always done it. This is how we've always done this, or this is how we've always done that. And so someone new coming in is like, but why? And
Hmm.
so that kind of opens up a way for that person coming into leadership to really make it their own process or their own whatever it is, just kind of having a new perspective on it and not just accepting that's just how we've always done it
Right.
as a reason to continue to do it that way.
Got it. All right. Which takes some guts on their part,
Yeah.
especially especially if they hear it more than once. Well, we've done it this way.
Yeah, for sure. Change
Got
is
it.
not easy for anyone.
Does not. Does not. All right. So let's say that it's 2026. So a year has passed from the time of this interview. Um, what do you hope that you have accomplished?
I hope that I've created an environment for my team where they feel empowered and confident in their abilities and they know that they have my support.
Excellent. I love that. Like, you created an environment where they feel empowered and they're confident and they know they have your support. Just give me like one or two things, like ingredients, if you will, to create that environment.
Well, I think communication is obviously important. We're a small office, so it's kind of funny. I have an office there, but I'm just like speaking out loud. So I'm like, oh, hey, and we're
Yeah.
talking across the room constantly all day. Um, but it's really just getting feedback. We're constantly, things are happening. We essentially do the same thing every day, but every day is different.
Yeah.
So as different situations arise, I might see how someone handled it versus how someone else, and be like, that was a really good idea. Or, Casey, that was an excellent plan, or
Right.
something like that. And it's just about inviting them to be open to share their ideas and not be hesitant. Because I think a
Right.
lot of times, depending on the leader, sometimes you're afraid to speak up and just do what he says, or whatever. So I try to make sure that they know that their feedback is welcome and appreciated.
Got it. All right. Well, Joe, again, I appreciate you, number one, just sitting down with me. And number two, I appreciate you speaking so freely during this. I believe that folks are going to get a lot out of this, so thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. Well, I was here with Joe the Bomb Olivares. And I'd love to have any feedback you have about what you got from this particular episode or any of the episodes. I'd love to know what you're learning on your own as a leader, how you're growing. That feedback would be awesome. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you next month with the next Leader Talk. Take it easy. Bye-bye.